So a couple months ago, this thing is just no good. Keeps getting tangled in my shit. Center it perfectly. So a couple weeks ago, I was invited out to Las Vegas to play in Big Bet Poker's upcoming poker live stream live at the Tropicana. It was a test stream. Basically, that week, I did not end up running my home game because so many of my regular friends and players were out in Vegas. So I had an idea. I talked to the producer of Live at the Tropicana and I was like, hey, I have a home game every week. A lot of us in Arizona end up going up to Vegas, so unfortunately I couldn't host. I think it would be a great lineup for content and also just kind of nailing out any type of production problems that the stream might have. I held my home game in Big Bet Poker's live at the Tropicana stream. It was 5-10, no limit hold'em, 1K, 3K max buy-in, and everybody that was on that stream were my friends that I have made over the course of my poker journey. This video, I kind of wanted to go over some of the big hands, the fun hands that we did on stream. I think I'm in a couple of them towards the end, but I was really more there as kind of like the host. That being said, I am hot as balls right now in my studio. Get a little drink. Let's hop right into it, man. Yeah, so all these goons, right, they're all from my home game. I think there's only one guy from LA, a friend of mine. His name's Austin. Really cool, really high stakes poker crusher. Right off the bat, we have Brian. He's going to raise to $25 with Queen Jack offsuit. And Greg's going to 3-bet to 100 in the hijack. Sonny is going to end up calling on the button. And so now Brian's priced in to call. He's not going anywhere. Brian was one of the first poker friends that I've ever made. Back when before there was no limit hold'em, there was spread limit, so you could only bet a certain amount. Everyone here seems like they came to gamble, so let's go see a pot. It's three-way action here. And as far as the flop goes, Queen 8-8. It's a pretty dry board here. And Brian's going to check it over to Greg. And Greg is going to continue c-betting here, probably representing the queen. Any overpairs, aces or kings. And Greg is an Arizona pro that I met. How did I meet him? I think I met him at Lone Butte. I don't remember, but we played a lot of big pots and I grew a liking to him. But Sonny folds, Brian calls the flop bet, and then turn is a jack. So Brian makes top two. But Brian tells me that he's putting Greg on aces or kings here. So if he does make two pair on the turn, it's useless. So when Brian checks, Greg should bet here. He bets a decent sizing, 375. And I guess when Brian calls and he's putting Greg on aces or kings, he's hoping for queen or a jack on the river. But the river is a 4 of spades, so it's a complete brick. So Brian leads out here for 5. It's like slightly less than half pot. I do not like it. If I was in Brian's shoes, honestly, with how Greg plays super aggressive, I would have check called versus bet fold. And the reason why you want to check call versus bet fold is because this is what happens. So when Greg jams all in, you have to put him on aces or kings here. I think regardless of the bet fold, right? So Brian ends up folding. And Greg's going to show air. The reason why you want to check call versus bet fold here is because when they jam, I feel like even with the jam, Brian has to call. But, I don't know. That was a ballsy play by Greg. It was honestly a baller move. I respect him a lot. Good player. Watching Austin play was really interesting because this was really small for him. Austin's used to like buying in for like 30K minimum. So when he sits in for a 3K, my man is just gonna raise 3-bet everything, check raise everything, just play hyper aggressively. And his post-flop game is really good. So in this hand, again, he's gonna be the aggressor pre-flop. He's gonna continuation bet here. The Jack X combos, Isaiah and Lee, they're not gonna really do anything here. I think Lee was actually the initial raiser pre-flop, but then Austin ended up 3-betting. Anne's gonna call with pocket sevens, and on the river or on the turn a jack comes out. So Anne checks, and Austin's gonna continue barreling here. I wonder if Isaiah or Lee ended up floating, and then they hit top pair on the turn. What would have happened? I was kind of a little disappointed that everybody on stream was wearing sunglasses, but if you've never stepped inside like a stream game studio, the lights are so fucking bright. It's really hard to see anything. Now, Anne is an amateur player. I met her at Lone Butte, and she quickly was like, we gotta play bigger. We gotta play bigger games. So this was like her first outing playing bigger. She's weird. We have a very weird relationship. She thinks I'm bluffing every time we get in a pot together. She gets incredibly sticky around me. And it's just weird because we just happen to be put in spots where she calls me down where I should never have bluffs in my range. But she just, for some reason, always calls me down when I have bluffs. So now she's perpetually convinced that I'm bluffing, which is great, but it's not great because every time I happen to be bluffing, she calls. It's weird. It's a weird relationship. I don't like it. She has taken a lot of money from me for absolutely no reason. Other than the fact that I'm a fish, I guess. Sonny's a really cool guy. I met him at Talking Stick one night. We were playing a super deep 3-5 game. Like we're talking like almost like everyone had like 8K stacks at 3-5. And I ended up introducing him to Live at the Bike, and he played there a couple times. He was more than happy to make it out to Vegas for this trip. And unfortunately, he tells me he ran really card dead throughout the whole test stream, but we'll see. Let's look at this one. So both players flop flush draws, but Sonny's gonna lead out. I noticed he did this a lot on stream, where like he'll lead out on boards that are not very good for him. I guess he's trying to like take it down or like see another turn card with his price, but Shen's gonna follow along. He's going nowhere. He's Asian and he has a flush draw. He's never folding. Lee's gonna fold because he doesn't have much here. He's got backdoor hearts and backdoor straight outs, but he ain't continuing. Ooh, if he ended up staying in the hand here, things might have changed because he gets a heart draw to go on the turn, but now the board pairs. And Sonny's gonna be first to act here. Neither of them are too happy about the queen coming out on the turn. And when Sonny checks it over, Shen's gonna check behind. And the river's a 3 of spade, which is actually the worst spade because now the board's double paired. But Shen does make the nut flush here. I honestly feel like the nut flush is like a bluff catcher on this board, especially with the double pair. So when Sonny checks it over to Shen, I'm curious as to the sizing of, what does he make it? 685, 400 into 685. So he does go for value there, about 3/4 pot. I don't think Sonny can call here. Any other spade, and Sonny ends up losing a lot of money here. But that 3 of spade is an action killer. I wonder though, what would Shen do if Sonny re-raised him there? But either way, right? This is like early stages of the stream, so everyone's kind of playing a lot more timid. Everyone's putting everyone at the absolute top of their range. So man, that's a weird board. I would have loved to see like, I don't know, like a king of spade come out. That would have been gross. So yeah, this is like a couple hands in, right? Hand 40, right? Everyone's kind of like loosened up a little bit. And these two lovebirds are going to get into a hand. So Lee and I introduced Shen to the game of poker here. So it looks like Lee was 3-betting from the small blind, and Shen's going to call with ace-6 offsuit. Lee's going to continuation bet here 100% of the time. And Shen's literally in this hand with bad intentions. Like, look at that. He has nothing. Like, he has to know. He has to put Lee on ace king, ace queen. Like, he knows that Lee has nothing here. So when Lee's going to continue barreling, because all these low cards that come out, baby, they ain't hitting Shen's range either. But Shen's thinking to himself, oh, this motherfucker just barreling, trying to get me to fold here. I'm going to call his ass, and then when he check on the river, when the blank come out, I'm going to bomb it. So he calls. He's going to flat call with literally nothing. Look at the equity. Look at the equity. Motherfucker drawing dead. As long as no scary board, no scary card come out on the turn of the river, he's going to have to bluff his way out of it. The 10 of diamond comes out. So nothing really gets there, right? So if Shen's putting Lee on the top of his range, he's going to check here because he doesn't have anything. He has ace high, essentially. And like magic, I told you, Lee ends up checking, and now Shen's going to make it like $700 or something just to make it impossible for Lee to call. And this is the problem. Look at him. Look at him. There's like, he makes like a slight grin because he knows Lee has nothing when he checks over. And now he puts a time chip. It's such an Asian thing to do. To make it look like he has something, he puts a time chip in. It's not like a marginal holding, right? He puts a time chip in, and he's going to bomb the fucking river with ace high with a shit-ass kicker. How much you make it? 600? Did he make it 650. I told you. I know these players. And Lee's going to tank like, oh, I don't know what to do here. And then he's going to end up folding because his ace queen is no good. Look at him posturing for the camera. He's like, I can't let people know I barreled 2 streets with ace high. Yep, there he goes. He lets it go. I don't think Shen ends up folding. I was right there. You see my Burberry wearing ass. I even said it too. I was like, I know Shen had nothing. But I also know that Lee had nothing. So the question is, who had the worst nothing? Oh yeah, Lee knows. Lee knows that Shen is bluffing, but he can't do anything about it. And this is the great thing about playing with your friends and watching it on stream. Whenever you're like, oh, he's so full of shit. I wish I knew what he had. Well, now you know. Now you know. And it was really nice playing with Austin again. I played with him a couple times in California. We were acquaintances. But I got to know him a lot more on this trip. Super cool guy. He breeds like really rare dogs when he's not playing poker. I don't know how, profitable that is, but he seems to be doing really well. And Austin was, super aggressive. He gave a lot of action. Like in this hand, for instance, right? Sonny flops the nut straight. But Austin has a flush draw. And again, Asian with the flush draw. They're never, ever folding. And I'm actually surprised Austin doesn't re-raise here. I feel like he'll end up raising. But no, he just goes for a call. And I think the turn, is when Austin makes the second nuts. So now Austin's thinking to himself, I'm money here. What kind of hand holdings does Sonny have? And how do I take it all? But it makes it a lot easier for Austin because Sonny ends up leading out again. And Austin's just going to flat call. He's not scared of anything. He knows he's made. And the turn, the river is the ace of club. It's really bad for Sonny. I don't know why the original commentator said it was bad for Sonny. Because Sonny only really loses to a flush. I actually think it's a good card for Sonny because, 2-pair combos and all that jazz. But Austin leads out for 5. It checks to him. Austin leads out for 5, and then Sonny ends up calling, which is pretty standard. I think if Austin jammed here, like overbet, Sonny will end up calling. It is what it is. I mean, spade came out on the turn. Sonny bet. There's nothing he can do to get away. I mean, he can end up folding, but
He'll say $500. I think he's committed.
Ooh, I'm back. I'm back in the player's chair. I'm actually playing. Sonny ended up getting felted a couple hands later. He did not rebuy, so I ended up buying in. I think I'm the straddle this hand. I am the straddle. Yeah, I am the straddle. So I cold called the 85 with 6-4 offsuit. And the flop comes out 3-5-3. And I'm like thinking to myself, this is the hill I choose to die on. I check. Anne's going to check. And Isaiah's going to bet out here. I think to myself, do I want to re-raise? I say no because I want to keep Anne in the hand. But Anne ends up folding her 9-7 off. So we go heads up to a turn. Turn is a queen of diamond. I'm going to check it here. And Isaiah sizes it up huge. I think it was 325. And now I'm thinking to myself here, do I jam now? Because I reckon he hit his queen, or he puts me on a queen if he has aces or kings. I'm like, do I just jam here? What do I do? I mean, can't win with 6 high. I feel like I should jam. I mean, Isaiah told me if I jammed, he's gonna fold, which I don't believe, but oh yes, I get there on the river. I'm not too worried about pocket queens. I don't think pocket queens is gonna bet out that big if he wants any value. I check, and Isaiah ends up checking it back. Man. Isaiah tells me there's not a single sizing that he would have called on the river once the deuce came out. It is regrettable, though. That does suck. Ooh, this is the hand. This is a fun hand. Anne's going to open here for $50 under the gun plus 2 with ace-king off. And I have 10-9 in the small blind. Part of like the thing about being a host is I have to play a lot more splashier than I would when I'm not. So I'm going to 3-bet 10-9. And Anne just ends up calling here with ace-king off. So again, I have no idea what Anne, like she calls me really wide. So I have no idea what she could possibly have here. I make second pair. I have a bunch of straight outs. I have backdoor spades. I think I should lead out here maybe like half pot. And I make it really small, $80, just to see what she has. She snap calls me. So I'm like, okay, she at least has a piece of this board. And I make 2 pair on the turn. I think to myself, does she have ace king of heart? So I make 2 pair, but it's not the best 2 pair, and the flush get there, and a bunch of straights get there. So I'm going to end up checking. And I think Anne checks this back. So now I'm thinking to myself, I don't think a flush is checking there. Does a straight check there? So we check through, and then the river I bowed up. And now I'm like, I need to make it huge. Right, because I'm like, money card. What is it, 375? I mean, that's 475, almost a pot size bet. And Anne tanks. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get paid here, right? Because flush doesn't snap call me. Straight doesn't snap call me. 475, and Anne goes into the tank. And I can't believe that she tanks this high, or this hard with ace high. And a little backstory about Anne and I. For some reason, every single hand that we play against each other, I just happen to be bluffing. Like every single hand that we've had. I'm down like almost net, like almost $7,000 on her, I think. Just because, for some reason, every single spot, bluff. So everything I bet, she thinks I'm full of shit. Like she told me she put me on 7 deuce here. Keep in mind that I would have outflopped her 7 deuce versus ace king in this scenario. So she's just tanking forever. And I ask her in the hand too. I'm like, you have a flush? And she's like, no, I don't have a flush. And I'm like, you have a straight? She's like, no, I don't have a straight. She's taking this hard with ace high. So I'm like, fuck me, I'm not gonna make any money here. She ends up folding, and yeah, it's just weird. Whenever I have like great value hands, she folds. Whenever I am bluffing, snap call. It's a weird relationship.
Oh yeah, this is like the biggest pot of the night. This is Shen Yi versus Lee here. And the money is going all in no matter what. Like, it was so interesting because I was not sure what they were just like re-raising with. But let's backtrack a little bit, right? So Lee's gonna 3-bet to 120 on the button. It's gonna fold around to Shen, who was the original raiser, I believe. And Shen ends up making the call. He's not going anywhere. The flop comes out all low cards, but 2 diamonds on the board. Oh, never mind. Shen makes a pair and a flush draw. Fuck, this Asian's not going anywhere. He's gonna check. And Lee's gonna c-bet 125. And Shen's gonna raise. Again, like I said, Asian with a flush draw. Now, imagine an Asian with a pair and a flush draw. This motherfucker isn't going anywhere. He's gonna try to get the money all in right now. I think he makes it like a ridiculous sizing too. What is it? 425? Okay, now Lee's gonna think to himself, oh man, ace jack, set of jack, set of 4s, set of 5s. I think Lee makes it like 900. Now, why does Lee decide to min-click Shen here? Because if Shen has a set, it's going all in. Little does Lee know, Shen has the Asian equivalent of a set, a pair and a flush draw. So when Lee 3-bets to 925, he only has about 900 behind. Shen's just thinking to himself, what kind of hand, Lee? Put half his chip in. He blocks jacks. Lee is never ever going to be 3-betting on the button pre-flop with 4s or 5s. That leaves approximately 3 more hands, aces, kings, or queens, and he is going to put Lee all in. And Lee goes, oh, you have a set? I call. And Shen's like, no, I just have a pair flush draw. And then he turns a hand over, just run one time. And it's a flip. It's literally a 50-50 flip. Now, Lee stick to his stomach because my man's running bad and he knows that the diamond's coming. And the diamond ends up coming. There's nothing you can really do in that situation. Like, I like the min click because I don't know. Like, what happens if he calls, like, if Shen flat calls the min click and then turn is the 4? I'd be very curious. I mean, there's no way in hell that's ever going to happen, right? The money's going to get all in on the flop no matter what, but I like that play. It's a way to, like, minimize and, like, narrow down the range of your opponent, but, you know.
God, like this hand, right? 7 deuce. Why do I play 7 deuce? Because I'm the host of the game and I want to make action fun. So I'm going to 3-bet. Anne's going to flat call me with pocket jacks. Flat call with pocket jacks. And Austin's going to come along. He's priced in now to set mine. It's just a nightmare of a hand. I'm like, I'm going to donk off all my stack here.
Anne's going to put me on 7 deuce every single time we play. Which is great for me, right? Because that means that when I have a monster, I end up getting paid. But in this situation, I actually do have 7 deuce.
To be fair, though, I think I played this really, really badly. My sizing was all off. Look at that. Just snap calls me. The disrespect. Incredibly disrespectful. Austin's not going anywhere. This is where I made cardinal sin number one. I should have made this like $1,000. Of course, you know, hindsight is 50-50, right? I'm up against everyone, putting them on the top of their range here. Goes check, check, check. I should have bet the turn, and then I should have jammed on the river. It was a big mistake. And it's hard for me, personally, because Austin's in the hand. Like, I'm not too worried about what Anne has. I'm just like, what's Austin calling for? Yeah, I made it way too small on the river here. Austin tanks. He's thinking to himself, what hands do I beat? Honestly, I think Austin's thinking, like, can I win if I go all in here? Or, like, can I win if I raise here? He lets it go. Again, I show 7 deuce. He fucking shows pocket jacks. So weird, man. I don't know. I guess that's a good bluff catcher.
This is a funny hand because I wasn't expecting Brian to have aces here. I have 9-6 of hearts, by the way, and before the hand, the dealer is like, can you scan your reader because it's not popping up? And I make a little quip here like, wow, the cards are so bad that the RFID reader doesn't understand I want to play these cards. That the reader's like, are you sure? Like, are you sure this is 9-6? Is there any way in hell that like this reader's wrong? I mean, it's not gonna do anything, right? I mean, 2 clubs come out, so I tell the dealer, I'm like, tell the graphics team I have 9-6 of hearts, and then I'm gonna fold. And Brian says I suck, and he shows pocket aces. I mean, there's no way I'm I'm not continuing to the turn there.
I think that's about it. That's most of the hands. Oh, I've been up since like 6. Well, I haven't been sleeping at all. Oh, I need a haircut too.